Okay, so back once again with another lecture video. So this is your Professor Franklin Ayuson, and today we're gonna discuss Chapter 5 of Operations Management, and the topic is all about capacity planning for products and services. So the following are learning objective. So today we want to explain or understand and explain the importance of capacity planning, discuss ways of defining and measuring capacity. Okay, describe the determinants of effective capacity. Discuss the major consideration related to developing capacity alternative. Define and describe approaches that are useful for evaluating capacity alternative. Okay, more so, okay, or first, we want to define what is capacity. Okay, in a simple explanation that we experience in our daily lives. For example, kung magko-commute tayo at sasakay tayo ng jeep, more often or not, maririnig mo sa driver or sa konduktor na sampuan, siyaman, o 12 yung sakay nung jeep. Dosihan yung sakay nung jeep. So sampuan yan, kaliwat kanan, waluhan, pituhan, siyaman yung sakay ng jeep. So basically, kung meron kang sampuan na capacity, sampu sa kanan, sampu sa kaliwa, you have 20, tapos meron kang isa sa harap, less the conductor and the driver, so 21 yung capacity ng jeep. Sa simpleng explanation din, halimbawa maglalaba ka, at makikita mo ngayon kung ilan yung nakasulat na capacity ng iyong washing machine at ng iyong dryer. Nakalagay doon kung ilang kilo yung kaya. Kung gagamit ka ng mga iba't ibang appliances, makikita natin doon kung ano yung capacity or yung kakayanan ng mga makina or yung mga appliances na ginagamit natin. By definition, capacity is the upper limit or the ceiling on the load of an operating unit can handle. So we're referring to the machine as an operating unit. We're referring to the equipment or to the space or to the employee skills as an operating unit. So therefore, when you talk about capacity, it may refer not only to the equipment, to our equipment, but also to the space wherein we perform our operation. It also pertains to our employee and their skill level and their capacity on how much they can produce in a single measurement. So the basic question in capacity handling are, what kind of capacity is needed? How many machines do we need? How much amount of space is required? Yan. How much is needed? How many employees are needed in consideration to the number of output they can produce? And of course, the timing, referring to when it is needed. So those are basic question in capacity handling. So if for us to understand ano ba tong capacity na to, we need to answer each of the following question. Again, what kind of capacity is needed, how much is needed, when it is needed, and again, we are referring to the different variables of capacity. I'm talking about the equipment or the machine itself, the space, and even our employee skills. So moving forward, for us to appreciate the concept of capacity, and what is capacity and the importance of capacity, we need to understand its relevance and importance, and the importance of our capacity decision. Our capacity decision will have an impact for us to be able to meet our future demand. The importance of our capacity decision also affects our operational costs. Our capacity decision also determines our initial cost of operation. Say for example, you will be opening your new business. Okay? Your definition of your capacity will basically define your initial cost of investment. Okay? And of course, no, uh, our capacity decision involves long-term commitment for the organization. It affects our competitiveness. It also affects the ease of management. Okay? The globalizations add complexity to our capacity decision, and basically our capacity decision are involved or is involved in what you call long range planning. Okay? So those are the importance of our capacity decision. Okay? The importance of planning for capacity, okay, covering the space, equipment, and employee skills, okay, and of course, okay, aspects such as future demand, operating costs, initial costs, etc. Okay? Moving forward, what is capacity? The definition of capacity involves three aspects. The first one is our capacity design. Okay? The second one is our capacity effectiveness. And finally, we have our actual output. Okay? The term capacity, design capacity, okay, refers to the maximum output rate or service capacity an operation, process, or facility is basically designed for. So for example, in an 8-hour operation, how many output can a particular machine produce in an 8 hours operation? Okay? In terms of services, for example, an event place can handle how many numbers of guests? Okay? A resort, for example, okay, shall only accommodate up to how much number of guests. So that is your service capacity. Okay? For example, that particular restaurant can only handle up to the maximum number of customers per hour. Okay? Or a particular kitchen can produce, for example, how many numbers of cakes per hour. So that is your design capacity. Okay? On the other hand, we have what you call the effective capacity. Effective capacity minus our allowances such as some personal time, breaks for our employee, maintenance, and scrap. Okay? So that is our effective capacity because from time to time, we need to give our employees some break. Okay? Or from time to time, we need to do some maintenance. Okay? And of course, we need to change some of the components of our machine. So that is our effective capacity. So notice, okay, effective capacity involves the very definition of our defined design capacity less or minus whatever allowances, okay, we want to implement or we want to um, make present in our capacity design. Okay, so ano yung mga allowance na binibigay natin? How much break do you give your employees? Okay, finally, we have our actual output. Okay, it is the rate of output actually achieved, okay, in by our, say for example, machine, human resource, or space, okay, which cannot exceed, okay, our definition of effective capacity. To further understand this, let's look at some formula, okay, of the concept of efficiency and utilization. Okay, for us to be able to understand later our design, our effective, and our output. Considering, of course, the concept of efficiency and utilization. So let's go back first. So when you say efficiency, talks about our actual output, okay, divided by our effective capacity. So here, okay, we take into consideration again our actual output and of course our effective capacity. Our actual output or the rate of output achieved or that is actually achieved plus the effective capacity or divided by the effective capacity or in consideration to our capacity design minus such allowances. So that is your measure of efficiency. On the other hand, when you talk about utilization, it refers to, again, your actual output, but this time, your design capacity. Remember, the design capacity is the maximum output rate or service capacity of our operation process facility that we are designing that we designed it for. Okay? So again, design capacity. Okay, again, in this sense, the difference is that our denominator is design capacity instead of effective capacity. Remember, effective capacity has this concept of less or minus allowances. Okay? Design capacity, less minus allowances. Well again, design capacity only talks about the maximum rate of output, both in service and in operation. Okay? Now, both are expressed, okay, or both can be expressed in terms of percentage. Okay? So, moving forward again, okay, to be able to understand, for example, that, okay, in this case, our truck, okay, or our operation, rather, can handle, in terms of design capacity, 50 trucks per day. Okay? But in terms of effective capacity, okay, we are only, okay, pegging, okay, or indicating around 40. So that the difference are allowances we give our operation. Again, this can be some personal time, this can be some maintenance, or removing of scrap. Okay? And then, okay, your actual output, say for example, today, we only achieve 36 truck or units. Yan. The 36 units na yung nagawa natin. So let us measure our efficiency. So our actual output, 36 units, divided by effective capacity, which is 40 units, we are 90% efficient. Okay? However, okay, with regards to utilization, our output of 36 units, okay, with regards to the design capacity, which is 50, we utilize our design capacity up to 72% utilization. Okay? So again, no? This can be vital in our decision because of course in our operation we want to understand how much, okay, in terms of design, we want to plan for our operation. We want to define also the number of output to be able to consider effective capacity versus, okay, the actual output with of course reference to demand. Okay, so merong external factor. Yan. So again, no, efficiency and utilization. Moving forward. Okay. Now, with reference to effective capacity, again, what is effective capacity? Okay? Your design capacity minus allowances. Okay? So what are the determinants of our effective capacity? Okay? Say for example, how do we differentiate the variance between our design and our concept of effectiveness? So therefore, let us look at the determinants or the factors of effective capacity. Our effective capacity can be determined or is affected by our facilities. Okay, more facilities, less facilities, okay, will result to our definition of effective capacity. Okay, it is also affected or determined by the types of service or product factors. Say for example, you're producing product X. What is your effective capacity compared to producing product Y? Okay, in consideration, for example, that those are two different products. Okay, for example, Y is larger than X. Yan. We want also to consider our process factors, our human factors, okay? Our policy factors. Yan. So, process factors may talk about, let's say, the different steps, the process in which our operation requires to produce. Human factors talks about employees, their level of expertise, trainings, and for example, learning ability. Yan. Okay, and their efficiency, of course, no? Policy factors are things that we put in our operation. For example, that we require our employees to take a maximum of 1 hour break, and they are required to take breaks. For example, no? Kahit na ginagawa pa sila, kailangan mag-break because we understand that human beings, di ba, may certain level of fatigue na pumapasok. So we take that into consideration. What else? We have operational factors and the concept of supply chain factors. And also supply chain factor and external factor. So we're talking about our external suppliers, the inflow of our materials, and again, some external factors that may affect our operations, such as a simple change in the weather can define the number of attendants that will define our human factors. And what are some policies with regards to human resource? Yan, may mga external factors. Okay? Moving forward. So, in and with consideration to our understanding of design capacity, effective capacity, and actual output, okay, we want to now strategize, okay, or form our strategy, or what you call again, strategy formation. Okay, so number one, okay, we need to consider that our capacity strategy affects, okay, our long-term demand. Okay, so we need to strategize for our long-term demand. So factors in marketing, okay, in consideration also of the demand pattern. Again, external factors. So we want to foresee the external demand. Okay, we also need to consider, okay, not only the demand but also the growth rate, okay, of such demand, and if there are variability or again no fluctuation in our demand. Okay, again, another would be a part of our strategy formation with regards to capacity is our facilities. Okay, considering for example these are fixed to our operation. It is not always possible to increase or decrease our facility. Yan, hindi man napapalaki yung lote, yung lupa. Okay? Such as for example, cost of building and operating. Okay? Part also again of our capacity planning is the technological changes. The rate and the direction of technology, okay, changes. Okay, we have our behavior, okay, or the behavior of our competitors also, okay, is a factor to consider in our strategy with regards to capacity. And finally, okay, we also need to consider the availability of capital and their input. Okay, so with regards to our strategy formation, there are several factors with regards to our capacity decision that may affect our strategy. Moving forward, so these are some key decisions in capacity planning. Okay, so number one, we need to determine the amount of capacity needed. Okay, plus minus our capacity cushion. Okay, so 100% less our utilization. Okay, it's always better to make some cushion or allowances. Okay, another key decision is with regards to the timing of our changes. Okay, and our need to maintain balance between the demand and our capacity. Okay? Of course, no, nagmamanufacture tayo, nagpo-produce tayo, gumagawa tayo versus what is happening in outside the organization and in the market. How saleable is our product? What is the level of demand? Okay? More level of demand, okay, affects our capacity. Less level of demand will also affect, okay, our capacity. Okay? It basically means more and less for the organization. I'm referring to the level of profitability, okay, of the organization. Okay? More or less, or probably naranasan natin na uh, nagkaroon ng shortage. Bakit? Ang laki ng demand, kukunti yung supply. Because the capacity remain constant while the demand increases. Or on the other hand, okay, meron naman surplus, but you need to continue to produce. Pero may surplus pa rin. Okay? Kasi pag tumigil ka, okay, you have to consider that there are also a certain level of losses. And finally, the extent of flexibility of our facilities. Okay, how are we able to increase or uh, decrease our facilities with respect to external factor? Okay, the cushions or the capacity cushions, okay, are extra demand intended to offset uncertainty. So again, these are allowances. If there are, for example, more demand, okay, if we have capacity cushion to increase at least 10% of our operation, or if there are less demand, okay, do we have the capacity to minimize or shrink our operation at up to what extent? Okay, kasi again, no, hindi naman po pwedeng i-shutdown mo lahat yung makina or tatanggalin mo yung mga tao. Hindi may mga factors na ganon porket wala kang demand. Okay, again, these are capacity cushion. Okay, more so moving forward. Okay, so we have this